Good morning. I'm going to call the committee to order, and I just want to welcome everybody to the Public Safety Subcommittee. We have 5 criminal sentencing bills to hear today. The Code of Virginia requires that an appropriation be made in the budget for each new bill that could potentially increase the number of people in state prisons. The fiscal impact for the bills that are recommended by the subcommittee today will need to be included in the subcommittee's budget report. A representative from the Criminal Sentencing Commission is on the line in case any member has a question regarding the estimated fiscal impact of a bill. There is also a representative from the Virginia State Police online to answer potential questions as well. Before I call the first bill, I would ask the staff to call the roll at this time, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Senator Norman?
I am here.
Thank you. Senator Ruff?
Here.
Senator Edwards?
Here.
Senator Peterson? Senator Marsden?
Here.
And Senator Eben?
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, I was going to go in order, but I'm going to take this slightly out of order because Senator Deeds has a bill that has a fiscal impact, and I know we're going to need the state police to respond to that. So, Senator Deeds, if you'd like to get started.
Thank you, ma'am. I've got Senate Bill 1250, Madam Chair.
Give your attention to Senator Deeds on Senate Bill 1250.
Okay, I've got Senate Bill 1250. It's a fairly simple bill. It's somewhat controversial. It's gotten a little notoriety, but
Thank you.
all it does is it requires that one who rents a firearm go through a background check. And the reason this came to my attention is last summer, within the span of 5 days, 2 young men, one 27, the other 21, both of whom had mental health problems, had been committed before, and could not have purchased a firearm, rented firearms at the same gun range in Hanover County, and went to the gun range and ended their lives. So this bill won't bring those boys back, but it will put an impediment in the way of anyone else who intends to do that. My understanding is this sort of thing doesn't happen very often, but I think 35 people around the country ended their lives in gun ranges last year, and we know there's 2 in Virginia did. That's what the bill does. It does have some fiscal impact, and you probably want to hear from the state police on this issue.
That is correct, Senator Deeds. I first want to ask if any member of the committee has any questions of the patron.
Madam Chair.
Senator Marsden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Deeds, I know with a gun store, they have the ability to do background checks. And I'm assuming that, I guess not all gun ranges sell guns and would need the capacity put in. Is that correct?
I think that is correct. I mean, there's no question that this is a change in law, and it will require some adjustments. But the reality is, both these young men would have not been able to, on a commercial standpoint, they wouldn't have been able to buy guns.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator
Another
Marsden?
question.
Follow up?
Would a range owner have any different, would any existing range owner have any problem becoming, I guess, having the same authority as a federal licensed firearm dealer who would do that? So they would have to go through that process.
That I don't know, Senator Morrison.
Okay. And the background checks take how long?
Well, you know, I can only relate it to the few times I've purchased guns, both at auctions and gun shops, and they've just taken a few minutes when I've gone through it. Other people say that it occasionally takes longer. When there's a complication somewhere, it's going to take a little more time. According to the fiscal impact statement, the state police indicate that there will be transactions where they're more complicated and require a little more time.
Thank you.
Other members have questions of the patron?
Madam Chairman, Tommy.
Yes, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. We've discussed this bill in another venue, but I would ask Senator Deeds, not in an adversarial sense, but from an informational standpoint. Senator Deeds, what do we do about these resorts that allow people to come in and shoot sporting clays and ski and things? How are we going to manage those facilities, including one that the Democratic caucuses do an annual retreat to?
Absolutely. I've thought about the same issue, and I think, while I think, the one you're talking about is very near and dear to my heart. This bill will require some adjustments. I think there are probably ways to accommodate people who already have gone through a background check, but at least in the instance of these two young men, that I'm offering this bill in response to what occurred at this shooting range. These two young men would not have been able to get through a background check to purchase a firearm, but they could rent one and end their lives. And those families are profoundly, permanently impacted. And this bill is simply a response to try to make sure things like this have less of a chance of happening in the future.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I do have great respect for the passion that Senator Deeds has for this bill.
Thank you, Senator Norman. Since we have state police online, I think it would be appropriate to hear from them on this matter.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I hope you can hear me okay. This is Dan Wilson with the State Police.
Yes, sir, we can hear you very well. Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Thank you for having me. The reason for the fiscal impact is essentially this bill will require some changes to our V-check system. Now, that's the firearms check system that someone normally goes through when they purchase a firearm. Renting a firearm, the FBI does not allow in a rental situation for the check to go through NICS. So that means that these checks will only be state level checks. But the V-check system, we are due to get a new V-check system. We expect around July of 2023. But as the bill is currently written, and again, the department doesn't have a position on the bill, but as the bill is currently written, it will take effect in July, and that will require changes to the current V-check system, and then changes to the V-check system that is now being developed. So that's the reason for the fiscal impact.
Thank you so much for that explanation. Any other questions of the patron or the speaker?
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Caitlin.
Yes, Caitlin?
I just wanted to interject that if the committee or subcommittee were amenable to amending the legislation to delay the effective date to January 2023, that would cut the fiscal impact down so that we're not paying to upgrade both iterances of the V-check system.
Thank you. That sounds like Senator Deeds?
Sure.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second, Madam Chairman.
It's been moved and properly second. That the delayed clause be added to this bill to reduce the cost. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
No,
Aye.
thank you all very much. Senator Deeds?
No, I presented the bill. I think you can't bring these two young men back, but even if in a delayed aspect, this bill could prevent future suicides. And as the state police pointed out, we don't have access to the federal record check because federal law doesn't allow it, but this will allow access to whatever exists within the state of Virginia system, the Virginia criminal convictions and Virginia mental health records.
Thank you, Senator Deeds.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Senator Abbott?
if it's appropriate, I'd like to make a motion to report.
Yes, please.
A second, Madam Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
No, said the
Aye.
same, right? We have one no, Senator Ruff.
Thank you very
Vote is
much.
no. Thank you very much. Next, we have Senate Bill 1336, Senator Stewart, and that's restricted permits to operate a motor vehicle ignition interlock system. Senator Stewart, are you online?
Madam Chair, I do not see Senator Stewart in the Zoom. Senator Favola is
Okay,
here.
I see Senator Favola is here. Senator Favola, you have Senate Bill 1382, firearms purchase? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, please join us. Thank you for being here this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The bill before you is Senate Bill 1382, and what this bill does, Madam Chair, is for an assault and battery of a household member, if an individual is convicted of a misdemeanor assault and battery, and we use the definition of household member tracking the federal law, and we use the definition of assault and battery tracking the federal law. If in fact that happens, then that individual would lose his firearm, his or her firearm. And it would be a class 3 misdemeanor if the individual did not forfeit the firearm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no jail time associated with that. There'd be a fee of up to $500. Now, there is a fiscal impact here.
Yes, there is.
Because if somebody knowingly sells or transfers a firearm to an individual who has been convicted of this misdemeanor, and then that individual would suffer a felony. I think it's a class 4 felony. It's on line 129, and that's where the fiscal impact comes. It's sentence 129 here. The reason I am coming forward with this is I'm really trying to take firearms away from individuals who are violent in their households, who have, oftentimes they have a history of violence. Violence always escalates, and this was documented by professors at UVA and other professors. And I do want to say that suicide rates go up when there's also a firearm in the household, and again, somebody has demonstrated violence. And I do want to note that my bill is actually federal law. So I'm not adding any new category, I'm not adding any new definitions. I'm taking the federal law and putting it into state statute so our local law enforcement can actually enforce this very important law, which is already on the federal books.
Understood.
So I respectfully ask that the bill pass. I believe I have speakers, but it's your choice if you want to.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd just point out that
Senator Evan?
it's already been heard in judiciary, and it is federal law, and with that, if it's appropriate, I'll make a motion unless you'd like me to wait.
Madam Chair,
Senator Marsden?
the question with regards to Senator Favola's bill, would this be a Woodrum amendment?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Norman?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would ask Senator Favola if she is not aware in most of these instances, if not all of these instances of domestic assault and battery, that a protective order is issued that can be extended up to 2 years that requires the individual to surrender and not possess all firearms. And from my professional experience, I've found that to work effectively, but this bill would permanently deprive someone of their right to possess or purchase a firearm. Is that accurate?
Senator Favola?
Yes, Senator Norman, that is accurate. This would be a permanent prohibition. There has been conversation, I'm sure you're aware, the Citizens Defense League and other groups have suggested that information be added to my bill that actually removes an individual's civil rights, so then the individual could request a pardon from the governor. I haven't gone down that path. But I know the Citizens Defense League said they would support my bill if I had added that language onto it. I did not. But
Madam Chair.
I do understand your point.
Senator
Madam
Norman?
Chairman, I would say, first of all, seeking a pardon is going down a rabbit hole. But I would ask Senator Favola, are you aware of any other misdemeanor offense that has been put into law in Virginia that requires a permanent forfeiture of your Second Amendment rights? If you're convicted of a felony in Virginia, you may not possess a firearm unless your Second Amendment rights are restored. But are you aware of any other misdemeanor that permanently deprives someone of their Second Amendment rights?
Well, I'm not aware of another misdemeanor. Again, this has to be a conviction, but this has to be convicted of assault and battery. So this is in a separate category from a misdemeanor such as related to a civil matter or not paying a fine, or I think this is an entirely different category because, again, we're talking about assault and battery of a household member.
Madam Chairman, as you certainly know, this is an area that I know a little bit about with my professional hat on, even though it's frequently tilted. I would just say I am not aware of any, this is a misdemeanor criminal offense. An assault and battery is a class 1 misdemeanor, whether it's against a stranger or it is against a household member.
Madam Chair, mine is drawn.
Excuse me, if I may finish, please.
Oh, forgive me.
Thank you. But regardless, to permanently deprive someone of their Second Amendment rights in perpetuity for committing an assault and battery, I think is a little onerous.
Madam Chair?
Senator Morrison?
I tend to agree with Senator Norman. It worries me a little bit going down the misdemeanor. My years in juvenile court, assault and batteries get very murky sometimes as to who started the fight, who started the disruption. You know, the level of an assault can be, a shove. It can be, a threat to hit where a fist is raised and a flinch is made at the individual. And we're crossing a sort of a bright line here, although I have no sympathy for people who are aggressive and assaultive owning firearms. I have a pretty strong record of voting for gun control legislation, but I'm wondering at this point in time whether this might be pushing the envelope a little bit far.
Okay, we've heard a presentation by the patron and discussion by members of the committee, so this bill has already been aired. Senator Favola, did you have something else before we go in?
I just wanted to note that there may be speakers in the lineup, Madam Chair.
I understand this bill was heard.
It's up to you.
I think we need to call for the vote. We have quite a long agenda today, and I see we have Chair Senate Finance here with us, and so I'm anticipating that it's going to get even longer with her here. So I'd like
Madam Chairman,
Senator
Madam Chair, I would move to pass the bill by indefinitely.
Substitute motion to pass the bill.
There's a substitute motion that the bill be reported. All in favor of the substitute motion, let it be known by aye. Those opposed?
No.
I think I need to have raise your hands, please. Those in favor? Okay, in favor? 4. Opposed? And Senator Norman? Senator, I didn't get your hand, Senator Edwards? Okay, all right. Okay, it looks like it's 4-3. The bill will be reported. Thank you, Senator Favola. Okay, we have, next bill is Senate Bill 1461. Senator Lewis, is Senator Lewis in the chat room?
In the Zoom, Madam Chair.
Senator Lewis, good morning, join us, please.
Yep, good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning to you, sir.
Senate Bill 1461, Madam Chair, seeks to close what I guess could best be described as a loophole in the state bribery statute. It came to me from the Sheriff of Norfolk, who had over the years, not regularly, but over the years, encountered some difficulty in prosecuting corrections employees who were smuggling contraband, and he tried to prosecute them or seek prosecution from the Commonwealth's attorney under the state bribery statute, and the Commonwealth's attorney said it just didn't apply. And so anecdotally, he heard from other sheriffs across the Commonwealth that on the occasions when this happened, that they too ran into that same problem. So what this does is create a new section which creates bribery, makes it a class 4 felony to either pay somebody to smuggle contraband into the jail or to receive money to smuggle contraband into the jail. And it doesn't, as I said, it's not a regular occurrence, but it does happen. And the importance of trying to raise this to a class 4 felony is simply that it is, while it may sometimes start as small contraband, it is somewhat of a vicious cycle. And these folks, once entrapped in this bribery scheme about getting stuff into inmates into these jails, can perpetuate, and it becomes almost like a blackmail situation for them, and they can't get out as correction employees. And so it can be a significant, when it occurs, it can be a significant problem. And so you can see by the vote in judiciary, it was, I think, got out of judiciary with a unanimous vote. So the policy was reviewed by those folks in their wheelhouse and found to be sound. And so the question for you all, of course, is the fiscal impact to the state for potential convictions under this new statute. And as you can see by the fiscal impact, it was not really possible to ascertain. They used the existing bribery statute, kind of extrapolate. Looks like about 32% of the folks charged under the existing bribery statute received a state prison term of an average of 1.5 years. And so I think they assigned the minimum cost to it. But again, the policy, I think you can look at the judiciary vote, was pretty robust. The vote was robust. Policy is sound, and I think it's needed. So I think the minimal fiscal impact is justified. And that's the bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. And you're correct. It does have the Woodrum Amendment attached to it. So at this time, I'd like to ask each member of the committee if you have any questions of the patron.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Norman.
I'm very familiar with this situation, including the Commonwealth Attorney of Norfolk, and I would move to report.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second that Senate Bill 1461 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimous. The bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank the subcommittee.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move back up to Senator Stewart's bill. Is Senator Stewart in the chat room?
He is not, Madam Chair. I can describe the bill if you would like.
Yes, please do. We're going to turn to staff. Caitlin will, as soon as she pulls that up on her screen.
Madam Chair, this bill has the $50,000 Woodrum impact one time, and it provides that in a criminal case where a defendant's license to operate a motor vehicle, engine, or train is subject to revocation or suspension, and the court so orders as a condition of probation or otherwise that the person enter into an alcohol safety program, the court may issue a restricted license where the only restriction is use of the ignition interlock system for a period of 12 months.
Okay. Okay, members of the committee, having heard that explanation by staff, I'll entertain any comments or questions that you have.
Madam Chair, just note that the minimal fiscal impact, it's a 50,000 Woodrum impact, and that it passed judiciary 15-0, and with that I would move to report.
Second, Madam Chairman.
You've heard the motion and the second by Senator Norman. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. No,
Aye.
said the same, right? It's unanimous. The bill will be reported. Okay, we have one remaining bill, and that's Senate Bill 1113, Senator Spruill. And Caitlin, I'm going to ask if you would present that one because Senator Sproul is occupied in another meeting this morning.
Yes, Madam Chair. SB 1113 makes it a Class 5 felony for an adult to threaten in writing to kill or do serious bodily injury with the intent to either intimidate a civilian population at large, influence the conduct or activities of a government, compel an emergency evacuation or avoidance of a place of assembly, building, or mass transportation. And there's a misdemeanor if younger than 18.
Okay, you've heard the summary of the bill. Any questions or comments by members of the committee?
I would move to report, Madam Chair.
There's a motion to report. Do I get a second? There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Noes have the same right? Hearing no opposition, the bill will be reported. Well, I'd just like to say to the committee, we all know that we only had those 5 bills in the committee this morning. And having completed our agenda and hearing no further discussion, Caitlin, do you have anything that you'd like to add from staff perspective?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Having completed our agenda and hearing no further discussions, the committee is adjourned. And I thank you all and have a good day.